Hi, my name's Adrian,
My name's Kotoko.
and we're going to tell you the story, real life story, true story about how it was to be in lockdown in Malaysia.
Yeah, during the MCO.
It's now August the 8th, which was my dad's birthday, RIP, my dad.
RIP.
But we were in lockdown since March, around the same time as New York City went in lockdown as well. Anyway, so we'll start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
This story, which is a true story, and we noticed a few days before something.
The lockdown.
Before the lockdown started, we noticed something was a bit strange. We were in Kuala Lumpur, and me and Kotoko both got SMS to our phones when we were in the Mid Valley Mall having a cup of coffee. And we were thinking, why would the government send SMS to everyone in Malaysia? And at that stage, we were absolutely not worried about the coronavirus. We just thought it was something in China, and we had absolutely no worries at all. In fact, we were wondering why people were wearing masks in the shopping centres. And I think the second sign was that we went to the cinema on the last Saturday night before the lockdown. And what did we see, Gogo?
There was like one other person there.
No, what the film?
Oh, we saw Trolls World Tour.
We saw the Trolls.
Yeah.
And it was Saturday night. It was 7:20 p.m., so peak time. And there was exactly one other person in the cinema. So we thought it was really weird because normally Saturday night is like absolutely full, the cinema.
Normally you can't even get a seat.
Normally you can't even get a seat at that time, 7:20, especially last minute. And we went last minute and the whole cinema was empty. So then we were thinking something is really strange here. And I think I told some people, I think something is going on. The government knows something, and because something is weird. Anyway, so I think the next day after the cinema, the government announced there will be a lockdown, and it was going to start on Tuesday. And I was suddenly in a panic, not because of the coronavirus, but because I was starting a job as a professor in University Tokyo on April 1st, and I was supposed to pick up my visa in Kuala Lumpur. So I was wondering if the embassy is also going to close. At that stage, we had no idea what really was going to go on. Anyway, I called the embassy in Kuala Lumpur on Monday morning, and the lady said she has no idea what will happen. So I thought, oh no, we better rush up to Kuala Lumpur and because my passport was there, getting the visa, professor's visa. So we thought we better go and get the passport, because otherwise, if the embassy shuts down as well, then my passport is stuck in there. So we literally jumped in the car, drove up to Kuala Lumpur, which is about 3.5 or 4 hours driving. And we got to the embassy just in time, and we picked up my passport and the visa. And at that stage, we were planning to go to Japan for the opening of the university on April 1st. And what day was that, roughly? Around
like April,
May, late March. It was late March.
Yeah.
The lockdown.
No, it was like
No, I don't think it was middle. I think it was at least 18th or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got the visa, and then we met with a couple of friends. Since we were in Kuala Lumpur, we met with a couple of friends, and we were eating and we were drinking wine, and there was lots of other people singing and drinking, and we weren't scared at all, not even one little bit.
Yeah, we just got takeaway and everything.
We would never do that now. But anyway, we drank a lot of wine, and then we drove back to Kuala Lumpur. I can drink a lot of red wine, doesn't really affect me, so I was fine for driving. So we got back to Kuala Lumpur we got back to Johor Bahru at about maybe 3 a.m. or so, 4 a.m. And the next day, I was just wondering, can we leave Malaysia so I could start as a professor on April 1st? Because at that stage, it was very ambiguous. Some reports said if you're a resident of Malaysia, you can't leave. And some reports said if you're a citizen of Malaysia, you can't leave. So we actually drove to the immigration office, and we were totally not scared at all. We didn't wear masks. Actually,
we went in a lift with like 10 other people.
We went in a lift with about 10 other people. It was crowded, and I think someone coughed. But we were not really scared at all. And anyway, the immigration officers also had no idea because nobody knew what was going on. So we didn't know whether we can leave Malaysia or not to go to Japan for the opening of our university. And but then they called the head office, I think, and they told us, yes, you can leave because you are, even though you're a resident of Malaysia, we have resident talent pass. You're Australian citizen, so you can leave, but you can't come back.
Yeah.
So then we started to pack our things and start to book our flights. And then suddenly Japan banned anyone coming from Malaysia, and also any visa which was issued was cancelled. So the visa I had was actually cancelled.
Yeah. So it was like no use.
So we had no visa anymore, and we couldn't go to Japan anymore. So I called up the embassy, and I was kind of arguing with them, like, what the hell's going on? But we had to then resign to the fact that we're stuck here in Johor Bahru. But we weren't scared at all about the coronavirus the first few days. In fact, we weren't wearing a mask or anything. And we were going.
We went to the supermarket without a mask.
We went to the supermarket without a mask, and we weren't scared at all. But then I think what made us scared is I read New York Times. I subscribed to New York Times, and then around the same time, New York City was going in lockdown, and there was a lot of people dying, and they even had so many deaths that they had refrigerated trucks to put all the bodies. And so slowly but surely, we got scared. And it wasn't really from the Malaysian news, it was more from the New York Times news about New York. And then we realized this is very serious. And
luckily we found that out like after a few days.
And also at that stage, the New York Times and the World Health Organization and the CDC said you don't need to wear masks. So we didn't wear masks actually for the first week or two, maybe. No, it was at least a week, I think. Yeah. Anyway, then after about a week or two, we started to get more worried about the coronavirus and more scared. And then the problem is nowhere had masks. All the pharmacies were totally sold out of masks. So you couldn't get masks. And then luckily we found a neighbor who sold us a mask. So we bought like 100 masks. So that lasted us, 50 days. So that was nearly 2 months, yeah. So
then we got some from the doctor.
And we got some from the doctor as well. So then we had enough masks, so we started to wear masks. And then we started to look at the coronavirus cases, and they were like every day going up, like 200, 300, and then we realized, oh, this is quite serious, and then we started to get more and more scared. It was gradual. Like I said at the start, we weren't scared at all, right? We weren't scared at all.
We weren't even. We didn't really realize about social distancing because that's when they weren't like so strict.
Yeah. So we weren't scared at all, totally nothing. And then we slowly but surely, gradually, I think, started to get more and more scared. And I think it increased more and more to a panic. And
Mental health went like just downhill.
and at that stage, we couldn't get any deliveries. So the Tesco, you had to wait like 2 weeks to get delivery. The Happy Fresh had no slots, so we had to go to the supermarket, and it was so scary because you had to get your temperature checked, and everyone was wearing masks, and you had to social distance, and it was almost impossible to social distance in some situations. So we were scared. Then the worst happened. They had the extension of the lockdown, and it became even worse. And the worst thing was, like, for example, only one person could be in a car. So, and then we couldn't even exercise, I think. We weren't even allowed to exercise. And so all we could do is go to this Tesco nearby because we couldn't get deliveries. And luckily they had a thing called click and collect, so you could order and then collect it. But Kotoko had to hide in the car, in the back seat.
Yeah.
And if there was any, luckily we didn't get caught by any police. Yeah. One thing I could say is that they brought the army to the streets, and then we really started to feel very panicked because the army was in the streets.
There were some situations where because of the New Times, we were worried, like we got it.
Yeah.
The panic stage.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the winter is very severe lockdown, so you could only have one person in the car, so you got to go to hide in the back seat. And luckily we didn't get caught because they were arresting people and taking them to jail. So that was the worst time. We basically didn't go out of the house.
It was equivalent to like what say full lockdown in New York.
Yeah. And in Melbourne now, right now Melbourne is in lockdown, so we know exactly what they're going through. But the only place all we did was stay home, and I was basically reading New York Times continuously all day long at that time.
And we were cleaning like 3 or 4 hours.
Oh yes, yeah. Because of the lockdown, we have like some housekeeper. We had to stop them, and the laundry that would normally drop off our clothes, of course, shut. So for about, I think, 6 weeks or so, we had no cleaners and no laundry. So all day long, all we were doing was cleaning, laundry, and reading New York Times and panicking. And I got to do his schoolwork too, but I basically was just reading New York Times because that's all I could do.
But every day we were so exhausted.
Yeah, we did, because we were doing everything: cleaning, laundry, cooking. Cooking, of course, with the.
We're too scared to get takeaway.
Too scared to get takeaway in the full lockdown, so we cooked everything. But there was a silver lining on the dark clouds is we learned how to make bread. My PhD supervisor, Professor Nassim Erdogan, said that he made bread, and then we asked him, "How do you make bread?" We never made bread in our whole life, and because of his bread making, we also started making bread, and we found it really fun, and we also really found that bread was much more tastier when it's homemade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was one actually positive thing was we learned to cook things like bread, and we made food every day, and we made lots of Greek food. and we learned to make a Greek recipe called halva. It took us 3 times, but we made it finally with the help of my mum. She advised us to cook it slowly, and so yeah, that was like the really good thing about lockdown is we became expert Greek cooks.
Yeah.
And we still now the lockdown's finished. We started to get takeaway, but mainly McDonald's, KFC, ramen, places where they have well, like McDonald's, they probably got more hygiene rules, so we feel more safer there. But anyway, that was a good thing. The cooking was actually a really good thing about lockdown. We learned how to cook really, really well and make bread. We probably never would. I think we probably would never make bread in our lives if it wasn't for the lockdown.
Yeah. That was like.
Yeah, so we I think we never would have done it, but we did it because of the lockdown. So that was one great thing. So
But boxing stopped.
Boxing stopped too. Kotoko was a professional boxer. She's training for the Olympics, and that stopped as well.
Yeah.
Really
out of shape. But then I'm okay.
No, interesting, brilliantly. Anyway, so the worst time was about a month because we couldn't do anything, couldn't go out, stayed at home. We played Monopoly quite a lot of times.
Yeah, but we were like way too busy
because we were just cleaning, laundry, cooking, and reading New York Times.
And you got really stressed.
And really stressed. I was like, at the start we had no panic, we weren't scared at all, and then it gradually increased until I was incredibly scared and panicked. But before, my laboratory was in a place called Medini, which is a very new area and basically empty area. So we figured out we could go there for walking because there's no police. But they blocked one road, so we had to take another road to get there. Remember that they blocked the road?
Yeah, and I had to like basically hide on the car floor.
Yeah, because I had to basically hide on the car floor, otherwise we'd get arrested for having more than one person. Anyway, so it was about 4 weeks of total lockdown. That was the most hardest time. And then it started to ease up. And actually we got caught by the police on the when the lockdown was kind of ending.
Like basically there was MCO and then CMCO.
And that time you could have more than one person in the car. I think 2 people, maybe 4 people, I can't remember, but at least 2. So we were okay. But I accidentally went in the emergency lane, and then the police caught us because we went in the emergency lane. I didn't realize it was because it was in Malay. The sign was in Malaysian. So anyway, they let us go. I said sorry, I couldn't read the sign. They let us go. But we were surprised that some of the police didn't have masks. So I was a bit scared we'd catch the coronavirus from the police. And we had another terrible time with the police. For some bizarre reason, one day when the lockdown was finished, the police followed us all the way into the house car park.
For like no reason.
For no reason at all, and we had our masks on. But there were 2 police and they didn't have their mask on.
So we were like really worried.
So we were really worried that they, give us the coronavirus. And I don't know what in the world they were checking up. I asked them, "What did we do anything wrong?" They said no, we're just checking. But we still have no idea why. But those police were terrible. Anyway, from August 1st, they made wearing face masks in public compulsory. So finally,
people are wearing
masks. And actually, the best thing is the police wearing masks.
Yeah.
Actually, we got into the habit. Anyone we saw without a mask, we told them to put on their mask. But except for the police, because we thought if they arrest us for anything, because they got mad that I told them to put on their mask, so we didn't say anything to the police. But anyway, so we survived. The worst was about 4 weeks of total lockdown. And the good things is we learned how to cook, And
now I start because my holiday started about 1.5 weeks ago. So now I'm like kind of helping out with.
So when the lockdown finished, we were in a, like I said, the panic went from here to here. And even though the lockdown finished, we were still at the peak of the panic. So it actually took 3 or 4 weeks to reduce the panic. We still wear a mask every day. Actually, it's compulsory to wear the mask every day, but we're still too scared.
Now we stop wearing masks at the pub because we used to wear masks even
Oh yeah,
boiling hot.
we used to wear the mask in the park, but now we take it off when we're exercising. So our panic is reduced, but we still don't go to restaurants.
We do go to boxing, but only with Roman.
Yeah. So basically, even though lockdown finished, took us about 3 weeks to reduce panic, and then we. I think I know what happened now. The electricity, this building is terrible. The electricity went out in the middle of the night. It took them 1 day to fix it, and then for the first time in like 5 months, someone came into our house, which was the electrician, and of course we were super scared. But he had a mask on, but we were still super scared. But I think after that, we thought, okay, well, look, we survived that. And then, so then next step was what I think the first thing we did is we got McDonald's. That was the very first thing we did when we came out of our lockdown. We went to McDonald's and got takeaway. We still don't want to sit inside. It still feels scary.
No. And we heat up the food before eating.
Yeah, we follow New York Times. We throw away all the packaging and put it on our own plates, and we heat it in the microwave. But we got McDonald's. That was the very, very first thing we did.
And we also make shoyu now.
Yes, we did that too. We learned to cook so many things. We're like expert cooks now. So that was the silver lining on the dark cloud about lockdown. We became expert cooks.
Yes.
So we're really great cooks now. And it's much healthier. Actually, my weight remained about constant, even though I think exercise has been less. But I think it's because we use, good olive oil and we eat healthy food, basically. Although we started to get takeaway now. But so the first thing we did, we went to McDonald's. Second thing is we got a haircut. I hadn't had a haircut for 4 months. And also during the lockdown, I think when the lockdown finished, to celebrate, we colored our hair. So my hair is bleached, as you can see.
Yeah, and my hair's kind of purple.
And Kotoko's got a little bit reddish purple color. And I did that, and I did such a good job that the hairdresser said, "Did you?" Yeah. I did as good a job as a hairdresser.
She said you should become
a hairdresser. Then we got the cleaners in. It was a bit scary, but the cleaners came and started doing housekeeping.
But we were out anyways.
And then at the same time we started boxing. So after 5 months, because we started boxing again, and then we met the cleaners, but they put masks on, and we told them we got to wash your hands as soon as you come in.
Yeah.
But that reduces stress a lot because not having to clean was a massive reduction of stress. And
we used to clean like about every single day in the house.
And then the laundry opens, so we take our laundry there, and that also reduces stress. So we're going to boxing now. Cleaners are here, the laundry's open, but we still cook. I think we still will keep cooking our whole lives now. And also the cinema's open, but we're definitely too scared to go. So we have watched a lot of movies on TV now. Like we download and we watch it. We watched all the Rocky movies, except for 2, watching Creed. Well, no, we do watch Rocky movies.
The Creed is a separate thing.
Watching Creed 1 and 2. What else do we watch? The series.
What else do we watch?
We watched a lot of movies. Caught up a lot. Watched The Irishman. Parasite. Yeah, watch Parasite, black and white.
We also watched
Mad Max, I think.
Mad Max Cannibal Run.
Yeah.
A little all those, like, I kind of forgot already.
We caught up.
Eurovision, the five.
Oh yeah, that was great. The Eurovision movie, yeah, that's really great with Will Ferrell. Buffalo. Yeah. So we caught up a lot of classics and new movies. And I'm not sure, we probably will never go to cinema again because now we're used to watching it on TV and you can download it and everything. And
Hamilton.
We watched Hamilton. That was great. Yeah,
that was so good.
That was fantastic. So now our life is basically we go to boxing every day. The cleaners come, go to the laundry, drop off our laundries, and
immediately have a shower, disinfect everything.
Yeah, we're still very careful about the disinfecting, cleaning, but you know, compared to the full lockdown, it's 100 times better because of the cleaners, the laundry, and now we got back to the boxing, so we're kind of getting back into a routine. And Koto's doing great. Her coach is saying she's, you know, doing really good. Got back up to the even better. He said she's even better than before. Actually, he told me.
Yeah.
Now we can exercise. So every day we go and exercise. We go and walking. Today we're in a big walk in the woods, 10,000 steps or so. So yeah, basically. But Japan is still closed, and sorry to say to all the Japanese people, but I think the Japanese government much worse than the Malaysian government. The Malaysian government handled it really well because they went from a few hundred cases a day to now, you know, less than 20 or 10 a day. So they went a full lockdown. They brought the army out. The police were in the streets. But Japan government is just so weak, and they had an emergency law, but it meant nothing because it was purely voluntary. And as I predicted, the cases are just going up and up. And I think this week, almost every day was a record number of cases in Japan. We still can't go to Japan because Japan is closed to foreigners, almost all foreigners. But I'm doing my work as a professor online. And actually, the university I work for had coronavirus cases in the students. So this might be very controversial to say on the video, but I think Japanese government is terrible, handling it very terribly. Malaysia is a middle country, but the government handled it excellently. But this coronavirus is incredibly contagious, incredibly powerful, and so even Australia, my home country, which has a very great government system, still recently Melbourne went out of control and is in a stage 4 lockdown like we were a couple of months ago. And
the bad thing is that we might be closer to one now.
There might be second stage, but for now we're okay. But I think Australia showed this lockdown. I mean, the coronavirus is unbelievably contagious because even the great government they have there couldn't handle it. But the worst government, I think, so far, as far as we know, is Japan because they're so weak. And I think Kotoko could be better prime minister than Abe, who's just terrible, absolutely terrible. Anyway, so that's our story. Anything else I forgot?
Oh, you were meeting some people now. Right.
Yeah, we meet people at the gym, so we have human contact for the first time in a few months. Now, I want to say thanks to David Levy, Thomas in Germany, Nassim, my professor Nassimi in Adelaide, and my mother. I think they were the 4 people we kind of talked to a lot and really helped to kind of comfort us during this time. But David has also had a pretty long lockdown in London because it's pretty bad there. So thank you to them. And I also want to say thank our neighbour. I remember when the electricity went down, the neighbour made breakfast for us and brought it.
Yeah, and she's talking to us like, I don't know.
So that was good. We got a good neighbour.
Yeah, and I felt his heart over the balcony like every single day.
Yeah, the good thing is we could talk over the balcony, so even social distancing, and got to talk to a friend. I think 1 year younger than her, next door. So that's about it. I think. Anything I missed, Koto?
No, I don't. I think that was about it. But I feel like that he's done a really great job looking after me because he's been like cooking, cleaning, and looking after me like all this time. But like also especially during the lockdown. So thank you, Daddy.
Oh,
Love you.
but then now we have cleaners and laundry, so everything's good. And Koto's doing great at boxing. She finished the school, and she got straight A's. Yeah, so the lockdown was actually quite good because Koto could concentrate on her work a lot without the boxing, and she got straight A's. I think for the second year in a row at Laurel Springs Gifted and Talented Academy, which is an online school. So it wasn't any different for her because her school is online anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we don't know when we're going to be able to go to Japan. It's getting worse and worse there. So my prediction is no prediction. Who knows? Because it's just getting worse there in Japan, and I think they need a proper government. It's just so weak. So yeah, and Australia did good until recently, but I think the government is still very good in Australia, but it just shows the coronavirus is incredibly contagious and incredibly dangerous. So, oh no, I forgot. I got a PCR test. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
1 week. I had a sore throat, and my mother also had a cough, so she got a test. And then I thought, well, if my mum got a test, then I probably should as well. So I got a. My mother is in Australia, Adelaide, Australia. So we went to the clinic. The hospital, and it was drive-through. Extremely professional. It did hurt. They put 2 swabs, one in each nostril and one in the mouth, and it was felt like it was going into my brain, scratching my brain, and extremely.
I took a video of it. It looked very painful.
You can see it on Twitter. I put it on Twitter. Extremely uncomfortable, but I got the PCR test and I was negative. So, yeah. So actually, very good in Malaysia. You can get a PCR test anytime, and not anywhere, but yeah, I mean, they're all the hospitals. So most of the hospitals. So.
And also, you all tested negative.
And my mum tested negative too. So it's all been very good. And so thanks to all the people who, like I said before, who've comforted us during this time. My mother, David Levy, Thomas, Nasimi, and Kotoko's friend next door, the neighbor who's been very nice and made us breakfast and stuff one time. And so that's our story.
So yeah.
Hopefully there is not a part 2 of any lockdown, but Malaysia has been doing great. So good job, Malaysia government. You did a great job. So.
Hope you like the video.
Goodbye from me and Kotoko. This is our first live stream ever.
Yep.
Okay, bye. Nobody watched.